Welcome to Dollars, Lifestyle, and Charity, a finance podcast for gamers. Romans and I are both money guys, but we're also gamers, so we wanted to put this pod together to help gamers like us with some of their tough money topics that can sometimes feel as hard as a Souls boss.
We're talking budgeting, saving, paying off debt, and how to not fall for all the traps life throws at you.
Grab a health potion and let's start stacking gold IRL. This is DLC, a finance podcast for gamers. Welcome to Dollars, Lifestyle, and Charity, a finance podcast for gamers. I'm Scruffy, this is Romans, and we are going to be examining two games, the story of the first ever quadruple A game versus a indie game, and we're going to be looking at comparing some sales and seeing who won. Spoiler alert, the quadruple A game was not a quadruple A game.
So Scruffy has decided to make sure we never get sponsored by video game companies that actually have tons and tons of money. And so we're going to do our best to make sure we're forever indie and poor. Nice work, Scruffy. Well, let's get into it because I wanna blow millions of dollars and get nothing in return. I'm looking forward to this episode and discovering how you too can make sure you blow millions of dollars and make no money from it.
Listen, would you rather be sponsored by a company that spent $100 million on a game to only sell about 170,000 copies?
Let me tell you, I'm 44 years old and I've never sold out. I think it's about time.
Well, that's exactly what happened with Ubisoft's Skull and Bones. It was stuck in development hell. We'll get into all of that. But over its lifetime, last we checked as of recording this, it had only sold about 170,000 copies. Compare that to another pirate game that just released from an indie dev team based out of Uzbekistan, Windrose. It's only been out, like 3 weeks since we were recording this, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's already sold 1.5 million copies. So, this is the thing that Ubisoft will never live this down. But the fact that one of their head of marketing or whatever came up and called this the first ever quadruple A video game and proceeded to let down on almost every aspect of what they had promised is something that they'll never live down. And compare this to a very small developed studio. I think this is their very first game, if I'm not wrong. I was doing a little bit of research, and I believe this is their very first game, already crossing 1.5 million copies in almost less than a month.
Well, Skull and Bones has been out since February 2024. So I think it's we're talking about something. We're talking about a quadruple A game that which the only reason why it's quadruple A is triple A is usually 200 million. How much did they spend on Skull and Bones? Do you know how much development money they spent?
100 million.
Oh, they spent 100 million?
They called it a quadruple A game because they spent 10 years building this game.
Oh my god, these guys are crazy. Okay, so they didn't even spend. All right, because AAA games are 200 million in 6-7 years. So these guys are saying, oh, we spent 100 million in 10 years, and we still made a terrible game. Spoiler alert, of the 100 million they spent to make this game, I honestly, truly believe they spent 85 million on the water. Because the water in Skull and Bones, the one thing that Skull and Bones definitely has right is water. The problem is they weren't opening up a digital aquarium. They're trying to make a video game. So who cares about your water? Your game sucks. The gameplay sucks. The gameplay sucks.
Yeah.
We'll get into it. But man, the gameplay is terrible. Imagine 10 years of making something not fun. How do you spend 10 years on make something not fun?
Go ahead.
It's
wild. It's absolutely wild that that's what happening. It's happening all the time with these like AAA games where these studios are fixated on what this idea is and how they're going to make money off of this idea instead of actually making a fun game. But let's get into it. Yeah, so I want to talk about some of the specific things that make Skull and Bones and Windrose what they are and kind of compare the two. So Skull and Bones is Ubisoft, which Ubisoft is actually potentially going to get a pretty big win later this year because I know I sent you a message a little bit ago about the Black Flag remake, that the not like remaster, full remake they're doing of Black Flag. So they have tools in it, and that looks, I'm telling you, it looks fantastic. The retextures they've done, they've added content, they've refined the combat again. So Ubisoft knows how to make a good pirate game because they made Black Flag, which is probably one of the most, if not the most beloved Assassin's Creed game out there. So, this wasn't someone who is just like taking a shot at a pirate game. They've done it well before, and it looks like they're going to do it very well again with the remake. Um, so it's really interesting to see a company as well known as Ubisoft fail so epically on something like this.
Well, yeah, just in case someone's listening, what the heck's an Ubisoft? They're not just some small studio. They've been around for decades. They created the Assassin's Creed entire franchise, which is a great franchise. It's definitely had some lows recently because of woke gaming and making garbage games that are just big and terrible instead of small and great. But they're also the makers of Far Cry, Rainbow Six Siege, which if you want to play one of the best PvP games out there. Rainbow Six definitely is free to play now. It's just a little bit toxic and terrible with the community, but the game is good. They also have car games, the Crew Motorfest, and it goes on and on. Ubisoft has literally been around my entire gaming life, and that means also by default Scruffies as well. So they know how to make games, but they also know how to blow money. And
Yeah.
Skull and Bones is a beautiful game that's empty and hollow, that somehow makes you travel the high seas and fall asleep. And it's actually more dangerous to fall asleep at the wheel than drinking and driving. And if you play Skull and Bones, high chance you're gonna cause an accident because you're gonna pass
Mm,
out. Um,
yeah. Yeah, it's just really not a good game. They had it took them over 10 years to make Skull and Bones, which is kind of crazy that they just absolutely got hammered in this development hell of not being able to get it where they wanted to. You mentioned like the water, like, and I have it playing over my shoulder over here. Like you can see it's a visually stunning game, but they didn't have a clear vision of what would make someone want to play this game. They have a super high budget, like I said, spent over $100 million on it, and instead of focusing on a fun gameplay loop that wants to engage their player base, they focused on how to make it a live service game that they can run forever and keep people trapped in a economy where they'll be buying battle passes, buying different things. Um, and it seems like that was what their focus was making a really pretty live service ATM machine.
I think the other thing that we have to think of in the last 10 years, from 2014 to 2024, gaming changed dramatically. And more than
Mm,
likely, what they're not going to tell people is they pivoted so many times they forgot where they started, where they began. And when you talk about
yeah.
monetization in gaming had basically matured in those 10 years, and they more than likely built a bunch of garbage that would have never done anything. And then what you're left with is a scramble to make the latest version of monetization with the battle pass and season pass and blah blah skins and all this jazz that they forgot to make an actual game. But that's actually one of the curses of Ubisoft. I think that they've gone too big for their britches, where they make games that are so big and empty. They think if they create 1,000 POIs, points of interest, for you to touch and interact with, that makes a good game. And it's not a good game.
Yeah.
It's just a big game. And I think that's a major failure on Ubisoft's part. They make big games and they think big means good when big can be good, but it's not a guarantee. They
Yeah.
basically made a game that's actually, and what was actually super surprising, after 10 years you couldn't get your voice acting to be good. You couldn't get the script to be good. You couldn't get the menus, the UI, the interaction, the when you're the entire economy good. Like what? And I understand why the economy for the actual, so there's in-game economy and there's just
Mhm.
video game storytelling economy. Like, how does a character go from rags to riches? Because most video games, at the end of the day,
Mhm.
if you really think about it, most video games are basically the same story as a K drama. There's a start. You either start weak, or you start poor, and there's this journey of
Mhm.
becoming rich or strong or both. You start from a raft and then you go to a galleon, and the other part with the combat. The combat was so bad in Skull and
Yeah.
Bones, but whenever we get to Windrose, remember my comment here where I said the combat is bad in Skull and Bones, and then let's go to Windrose, and we'll talk about that. But I think Skull and Bones over 10 years, I bet you there's a bunch of product owner changes, staff changes, vision changes, gameplay
Mhm.
loop changes. But at the end of the day, like the core function of a game, and this is a comment that I make across all gaming. If the core gameplay mechanic of your game is trash, I don't care if your game is free to $1 million. If the core feature of your game is not fun, and really most games boil down to hitting a button. If me hitting a button does not create joy, I don't care. Don't do it. Don't spend
Yeah.
10 years. Don't spend $100 million. Don't spend $10. You can prove right away, is this fun? Mario Brothers, when it came out, it was a dude who jumped. How can you
Yeah.
pushing the A jump button be that fun across 9 levels, 9 worlds, 6 levels per world or whatever, and enjoy that? You're
Mhm.
doing the same action for 54 levels because they made sure when Mario jumps, it's a fun time.
Mhm. Yeah.
And things
It's a
haven't
really
changed.
good
Yeah.
point. Yeah, it's a really good point about the big games because, like, I remember the last Ubisoft game I played was Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And I played that game for maybe like 10, 15 hours. And I realized like I wasn't even 10% done with this game. Like I had spent so much time leveling up my character, exploring the world. And I'm like, I have done nothing in this game. I'm like, I do not have 200 hours to sink into an Assassin's Creed game. And oddly enough, that was actually my first Assassin's Creed game because I had it free on Game Pass when I was still paying for Game Pass. And I'm just like, I've been doing the same thing for like 20 hours, and it's starting to get old. How close am I to actually making a story progress? And I hadn't made any progress. I still had like a million miles to go, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna play this. This just isn't fun. So
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. And now let's get to the other side with
Mhm.
Windrose. Like it's a very small development team based out of Uzbekistan, but what they got that Skull and Bones didn't is they had a clear gameplay loop. They knew what they wanted the game to be and what was going to make people have fun and want to pick up the game.
I'll tell you some funny things about Windrose. As far as I can tell, the combat sucks. And so, if you think Skull and Bones, the combat sucks. Windrose, the combat sucks. You know the difference between bad combat? It's still fun to do because it's a short adventure. You can beat Windrose right now. It's early Oh, by the way,
Mm,
we haven't got that. It's an early access, so Windrose isn't even done. So they can make the combat better. But you can finish the entire Windrose experience in
yeah.
about 50 to 60 hours, with or without your friends. Obviously, faster with your friends. Skull and Bones wanted
Hmm.
to trap you forever. They wanted to hire you. They wanted full-time employees who swipe their credit cards once a month. And there's only so much terrible gameplay you can handle. So right now the win for Windrose, even though the combat's terrible, and that's just mostly the swordplay, the ship combat is fun. And that's the difference with Skull and Bones. The ship combat in Windrose is rewarding and
Hmm.
fun. It's enjoyable. You're always the underdog. It's you versus the entire ocean. But for Skull and Bones, it was
Hmm.
like snooze fest McGee. Like, whew, it was just slow and sluggish, and Windrose win. So, but the Windrose, you board ships and things like that. So that's what makes it also fun.
Yeah.
But the combat is still a little bit, in my opinion, it's probably a D on hand to hand combat, but it's an A on ship combat, and that's kind of.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say you can win with bad some parts not being perfected, but you got to know
Yeah.
your audience. The Windrose, if they went for like Game Pass and they want you to play forever, uh, it's not gonna go well. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the big thing for a pirate game, a ship game like this, the main focus, the main draw that has to be good is the ship to ship combat because that's what makes things different. I mean, you can play any number of games that have really good hand to hand combat, any number of RPGs that have a very well thought out combat system, but not a ton of games have a really good flushed out ship to ship combat system. On top of that, they have a really, really good co op experience. It seems to me like similar in some ways to Sea of Thieves, where like there are people that you're just hanging out with your friends and having a really, really good time. And the marketing for Windrose has not been anything crazy. It has been primarily word of mouth, some advertisements, but it seems just like people are having a really, really good time playing the game and want other people to play the game with them.
Windrose and Skull and Bones right now you can buy for the same price of $30. If you
Really? Dang.
they're at the same price. And you could buy a big bloated game that going nowhere, or you can buy a small tiny game with clear direction of where they're trying to get to. If they'll get there, it remains to be seen. But at least in 60 hours you'll have a fantastic, and it's funny. Woodrose, what better way to have fun than to attract three boars, bring them to your friends, and let your friends die? Like that's not quality gaming. I don't know what is. Aggroing PVE and bring them to your friends. And there isn't really even PvP in Skull and Bones. So I mean, in Windrose. So yeah, I think this episode is another moment where we're just saying we're in a beautiful world of indie game development. You no longer need
Hmm.
200 million to make a great game or 100 million in 10 years. Windrose, do you know how much they spent? Have they disclosed that at all? Since it's indie, they may not disclose it. But
I don't think I saw. I was reading an article about this. Let me see if I can find it
okay.
again. I don't remember if I can see how
But
much
the
it
player base,
was.
have you said that? How big the player base is? Have you got into the
No, go
numbers?
go ahead and get into that while I
Oh
look
well,
up
yeah.
the.
Good news is, so I don't do the show notes. I don't actually know the numbers. So I just, I just know the Windrose. All right, let's do it. Let's scramble. All right, professional podcasters go. Total player base of Windrose. Total Windrose player base is 100,000, 120,000. So right now, Windrose averages 120,000 daily players. They peaked at
Mm,
220,000 players. And this is an indie game. Indie games should be glad if they get 10,000 to 20,000. Super glad if they hit 40,000. This game is 120,000 daily. So they've sold
dang.
over 1 million copies. So Windrose, let's do the math, guys. Easy math. 1 million copies times $30 per copy means they made one times 30, $30 million. Spent less than a million on the game we're playing.
They don't have an exact number, but it's estimated to be somewhere between $1 to $2 million. Because
Boom.
the core team is about 15 people, with I think up to 60 of like people who actually worked on the game. But the core team that was like the heart behind it was only 15 people.
Yeah, so there you go. Look at that. I don't need to research anything. It's like it's all right here. It's like right here. I'm the Matrix when it comes to gaming, baby. But anyways, I'm glad I'm humble. The good news is just Windrose. Like again, you just deliver a core game. So the fun thing about Windrose is the resource gathering is actually kind of fun. Like it's easy to gather resources to build in the game, and so that when I think back to Skull and Bones, it wasn't fun. It was unfortunately employment, and I'll tell you that's what most big game developers do is they seek employment instead of enjoyment. Ooh, that's a book.
Mm.
Seeking employment instead of enjoyment. Oh my goodness. Opus, capture that one. Anyway, so you just like people forget what they're doing, right? We're not trying to please stakeholders or investors. We're trying to please gamers. And when gamers
Mm.
know you're authentically targeting them, they come by the hundreds and millions. In this case, 1 million people came to an Uzbek. You know the hotbed of gaming development is Uzbekistan, which as an American, I can't even tell you where it is on the map. I'm going to assume Russia. I'm going to assume it borders Russia, but I have no idea. I have no idea where it is. It could be in the Middle East right now. It's somewhere between the Middle East and I was going to say Africa, which is kind of funny. Somewhere between Middle East and Russia is my guess. And so this hotbed of gaming, where all the hottest games come from Uzbekistan, which I probably can't even spell. Yeah,
Ooh, try.
yeah, Uzbekistan, UZ, Bekistan, Bekistan.
Hey, you got it, man.
Really?
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
Uzbekistan.
I won the spelling bee in the third grade, just so you know. I won with the word bicycle. Take that, you nerds! Unfortunately, I peaked in spelling bee. I peaked in spelling in the third grade. It's never been as good ever since. Yeah.
Well, hey, you're getting it back with the spelling of Uzbekistan on the DLC podcast. But yeah, I think it's interesting because we've talked about this a number of times of how there's a lot of things we really don't like about AAA, and there's things that indies are doing really good. And I think this is a good kind of case study to show why AAA games specifically are struggling and why indie games, on the other hand, are actually winning. So I think one of the big things with AAA that I see often is there's too many cooks in the kitchen. Like there's not a clear vision of what the game wants to be. And I mean, you see this in gaming, you see this even with TV show and movies these days. Like big studios will often have people with competing visions, and instead of having one thing that everyone's fighting for, everyone is scrambling to put their take, their spin on the game. And you, instead of creating one unified game, you have all these individual pieces of a game of this is what Carl wanted to put in, this is what Jenny wanted to put in, and like all these different elements that don't actually fit together, but they're just kind of tangentially connected.
Well, when you're a big corporate thing, you have to. You just see the boardroom. They're cutting up the whole entire project into pieces, and you just lose the continuity. When you operate in your silos, I'm sure they do things to fight the silo mentality. But when you have 100 something, or in this case probably 1,000 people in 10 years working on a project, there's parts of the
Hmm.
game they never even play. So imagine people
Yeah.
just jamming their special interests into a game, hoping it's fun in the end. Ooh, it's a hard time. It's like an orchestra. Like at Reach Conference, we had a 32-piece orchestra, but imagine having
Mm.
100-piece orchestra. That takes one heck of a composer to make sure all 100 instruments beautifully play together. And so now you're making a game with
Yeah.
2,000 employees or these ridiculous numbers, and you have a game director who's supposed to know every single form and function of the game, all the
Hmm.
core systems that are occurring and slapping and smashing into each other.
Yeah.
This is where you lose efficiencies. Big does not mean great. Big just means big. Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, too many cooks in the kitchen there. You quadruple A game guys.
Yeah. And I think another big part of it is the trend chasing, because people are fine, like big game studios, they see the success of games like Fortnite, or they see the success even of like during COVID games, all these live service games that have great success, and they want a piece of that. So instead, it's just, in my mind, it's kind of a lack of creativity, because instead of coming up with a really good idea and finding a way to make that, they're seeing trends in the market. They're behaving like a stockbroker instead of an artist. They're seeing the trends and trying to follow the trends instead of trying to create something that's fun, that's beautiful, that other people want to see, want to play. And just because something's trending doesn't mean it's going to be fun. If you don't know why you're building it or how to build it properly, you're not going to make a good and fun game. And the other side of this is, you have these games that are super overbuilt. It's like, oh, there's this small game that's doing this. We can do that, but make it look so much better. But they miss the core gameplay loop, the thing that makes it fun. So you have these absolutely beautiful games that just aren't fun. Like I think an example of that is High Guard. Like the visual effects of it were really good. It looked really polished, but it just wasn't fun to play.
It was really slow. Slow guard, snooze guard, sleep guard. It was probably 20 minutes for a round, and 15 minutes of it was not fun. So only five. So you had a 25% chance of having fun over the next 20 minutes, and how are you supposed to survive? Yeah. So yeah, that's just another example where they probably had a guy who worked on the sound of a gun and never cared what the
Mhm.
gun was shooting at or aiming at. So
Mhm. Yeah. And going back to the live service thing, people and specifically gamers are getting so sick and tired of the monetization on every little piece of content. People want to just be able to buy a game and enjoy it. That's it's funny because we're kind of getting back to early stages of gaming that people just want a fun story game. And big gaming studios are not really making single player games anymore. Like a lot of these really big studios that have been known for making single player games, like you have the Arkham games where, some of the best single player superhero games ever made, and they come out with a new game, and what is it? It's a crappy live service game. And you have a lot of these studios that just aren't focusing on what they know how to do, what they do really well, because you have to have monetization as a part of your game now.
if you ever listen to an investor call of these big video game production companies, you'll realize one quick thing real quick. It's just another corporation. Like the soul is lost. Unfortunately, it's just lost. And if I ran a game studio, we would build games based on passion, primarily,
Mm,
and secondarily on things we know are actually fun to make. And then just win. Like literally just win. Spend somewhere between, I don't know, half a million minimum or half a million maximum to prove the gameplay mechanic is actually fun and the storytelling is there, and then from there decide. Well, you should know from early on if it's a small or big game, but I personally just have lean towards small games. I small to medium sized games. I don't these big giant companies, these big giant developer AAA games. The problem is, I honestly believe they got too high on the Hollywood sauce. Hollywood also has this
mhm,
problem where they're just, let's make the movie bigger. We need a
mhm.
billion dollars to make a 90-minute movie, or in this case, I guess 240 minute, because now they're going crazy with how long these movies are. But you don't like, and going back to a little callback to K dramas. That's kind of why K dramas work. K dramas are 12 episodes. They're
Yeah.
really good. They're finite. They give you closure. They're not big commitments. They're small commitments that always work. Games can be made like K dramas, not like Hollywood dramas.
Yeah.
It's unnecessary, and games are have this big problem of, especially live service, of employing the gamers who play them. And there's just a big problem with that, because if you think about it, just like in real life, for the most part, for most people, you can only really do one full time job well. If there's
Mhm.
50 excellent video games who all seek full time employment to unlock everything in the game, you've created an employment crisis where there'll never be enough supply to meet the demands you demand of them. And so for most
Mhm.
games that do that, I personally can't even commit to any. I can't even commit to one of them, right? Helldivers is probably the only live service game I can keep up with, and honestly, I can't. I think there's a new battle pass coming soon, and I'm probably not going to be able to get there. Or I'm not going to be able to get it. So, uh,
Yeah.
it's just time over money. But there's too many games that want your time, and they want your money. And there's just so much basic principles to
Yeah.
humanity. So much basic. Hello, guys. Too many. Stop it. Make a good 10-hour video game. 20-hour, 40-hour. If you want to go crazy like Windrose, 60 hours.
Yeah.
Not
No.
300 hours, not 1,000 hours. So,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's going back to what you said earlier. I think it's very true that it's a lot of these big studios are just another company, and they don't actually view their games as games. This is view it as a product that they can sell. And I think when they take that view, it's pretty dangerous. And that, switching the gears to indie, is one of the reasons why indie games are so good is they know exactly what they want to deliver. They have a game, they have a gameplay loop, they have something that they enjoy themselves. That they're like, and that's the story of most of these really good indie games, is someone had an idea for a game that they wanted to play that was not out there, so they decided to make it happen. That's what happened. I watched a documentary on the development team behind Expedition 33, and the people who were playing it were ex developers on Final Fantasy, things like this, and they're like, I want to play this game again, but I want to tell my own story, and it just doesn't exist, so we have to make it. And they found other people with that same thing. We talked about, the one guy who does the gun sound. They had one person who made all the music, one singular composer who made all the music for all of Expedition 33. They had a singular vision, someone who was passionate about it, knew what they wanted to do, and they had a clear vision of where it was going, and they did it very well.
Yeah, super awesome. Keep it up, Windrose guys. Please, now that you have $30 million and counting, don't get bloated and choke the game out since it's still technically in early access. And I'm not even an early access kind of guy. I kind of despise early access. I understand the need for it. I appreciate why it's around. It's just too many people abuse it. And I've lost my shirt too many times in early access games due to mismanagement of money. It's kind of funny when it
Mm,
comes to gaming. It's like the same principle as any other business. They just are really bad at controlling how they do the money burn. That's
mm,
because you're asking artists to be business guys. So there's I could see both sides. I could see why the investor calls AAA, why they exist, but for the most part, AAA is lost. They're off their rockers right now. They're in a really bad place, and they're getting their teeth kicked in
yeah.
by all these indie guys who, thanks to the power of technology and the AI slop to come, are able to now compete.
Yeah. Well, there have been some really good indie games, or maybe not. The example I was going to use was Baldur's Gate 3, which is more of a triple A, or not a more of a double A
Meh.
game, because
Wrong. Yeah.
Larian Studios is not a triple A studio, but they're a pretty good studio. But they did early access, and it received really well, and was able to kind of fine tune their direction of where they wanted to take the game, and they did it pretty well.
Yeah, early
So I
access
think,
works. There's just some jerks out there that ruin it for the rest of us. So, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Another one of the advantages that keeps indie games winning is the speed at which they're able to put in hot fixes, updates, bug patches. When you have a small dedicated team, that often a lot of indie games come out buggy, but they are, once they get a big player base and find those out, they tune things up really, really quick. Um, Again, this is more of a double A studio, but Supergiant just put out an update for Hades 2 with the launch of it on Xbox, and they did a ton, like revamped a bunch of things, and consistently they've been putting out for both Hades and Hades 2. They very consistently push out consistent updates, consistent bug patches, and it makes the game better and better as it goes along, and it also makes the game more playable and more enjoyable for the actual community as they play it.
I'd consider Supergiant somewhere between indie and single A, but I I could be wrong. Maybe they sold to somebody bigger, but they've been a
Yeah.
pretty smooth, tiny, small team. And back to your continuity, they are really committed to the right people handling the right jobs, and that's my life. I love putting the right people in the right seat and just let them run free. I
Yeah.
hate right person, wrong seat. Which with 1,000 employees, good luck getting all the people in the right spots.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. And a comment, going back to a comment I made earlier, um, the word of mouth for indie games, like that is what drives the community to it. There's an indie game that came out not too long ago called Far Far West. That's a roguelike Wild West shooter type of thing. I haven't played it yet. I'd like to at some point, but I heard about it because I had a couple of friends that were telling me how fun it was, and then I watched some gameplay, and I'm like, wow, this game is really amazing. Never have even seen a single trailer. any marketing for the game at all, except for people who told me it was a really, really good game. And it seems to be doing pretty well. It was in a beta for a little while, and it's was getting overwhelmingly good reviews on Steam. Um, but consistently for indie games, you don't have to do a ton of marketing. You look at a game like Silksong, like they dropped no marketing whatsoever to the point like people were like, "Is this game even happening? Like we have no information about this. Is this game even happening?" And then when it drops, it's the biggest indie game of the year by far.
Well, since you mentioned Supergiant, and I do love the guys who make Hollow Knight as well, but just to let you know, I would love to work with Supergiant, but specifically, I don't want to work with Darren Korb, the music composer for
Oh,
Supergiant,
it's so
Darren
good.
Korb.
It's
Oh my
so
goodness!
good.
If you somehow hear this message, Darren Korb, please let's work together someday. You're awesome. Love your music. So good. I literally have Darren Korb music playing when working. It's not just video game music, it's Darren Korb music. So, anyways, transistor me all day. Let's go. Anyways, only he'll know what I mean by that. All right, moving on. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's yeah, the last thing on this topic specifically about indies is indie games people come in with a very low expectation, and it's kind of the old I think Amazon had this phrase for a little while when they were first getting started was the under promise over deliver, and that's something you hear all the time in business. Under promise over deliver. Amazon would say, "Oh yeah, it'll get there in 7 days," and when it showed up in 3 days, you were like, "Oh, this is amazing! Amazon's the best." Indie games are doing the same thing. It's like it's a small game, you're not expecting much, and then it's a really, really good game, and you're like, wow, this is amazing. I love this. And AAA games are promising the moon, and when it comes out and it's kind of just like, it's not bad, but it's not good either, and everyone's disappointed.
Sad times, sad times. I want to surprise you with the thing. Are we done? Can we? Do you...
Yeah, there's a couple of things I wanted to close out,
Close
but
it out. Close it out. Close it out. I want to show you the
yeah,
thing.
yeah, I think we've talked about this a number of times. I think the future of gaming right now is truly going to be directed by indie game developers and very small gaming studios, single A, double A game studios, and indies, people with clear visions. And I think it's something that I'm actually really excited to see because you have people that are being empowered to make games that they love, that they want to play, because you look at a lot of these AAA studios, the people who are running them, they're not gamers. They don't know what they're doing. But these smaller studios, these are people that will actually play this game and actually want to make something that they want to play. So I think it'll be really, really exciting to see. But that's why I think Windrose overwhelmingly destroyed Skull and Bones. And now Romans is probably going to piss me off with some sort of day trading
What?
thing.
How dare you? This is family programming. You mean pee pee. You need to go pee pee. Just kidding. All right, so what we have is an update to day trading, guys. Been day trading again, as you've been noticing, because Scruffy doesn't give you enough stocks to buy. Which, if he doesn't give you one by the end of today's episode, I'm up $36 on your DocuSign from the last time you gave me a stock. By the way, here we are. This is an update. We've transferred the data to a new software so you can see a little bit better. So in the last time we talked about this, we talked about how we were up 1350 in the trading app. But anyway, so this is the last week that I can share. We didn't trade last week, but the last week you could see for the first time we had a bad day. We lost $857 in one bad day. Scruffy probably knows why. I don't know. But then we came up on the other 4 days. And so if you do that math, which I should have done before saying that, I know we're definitely up, but how much are we up by? Negative, let's see, 570. Oh, I'll do it so, this is my excuse in case you're listening and not watching. We have $572 that we went positive on. 300 we went positive on. We went negative 857. Went positive 388. And then last Friday went up $700. So in 1 week of trading, $7,000 and plus the gain, so probably $8,000. So trading $8,000 in 1 week, we're up $1,103. So divide that by 8,000. So we're up 14% in 1 week day trading. So just remember, this is a beautiful train wreck, guys. Don't expect similar results. Don't even do what we're doing. But I just love to
You're not even
show.
doing this. You're paying someone to do this. I want to clarify. Romans is day trading by paying someone else to day trade for him.
Yeah. So, disclaimer or not, we are currently up. We are now up plus a 1350 for the last one. So let's just do it real quick. So we're up $1,103 from 1 week, and then we're up 1350 from two
It's at
weeks
the top of
prior.
the thing.
Oh, right.
Two thousand
You
four
know,
hundred
because
and fifty dollars.
you're right. I only look at this to mess with Scruffy, so I haven't really looked at it. So we're up $2,453. It missed the $3. It rounded to $3, and that
Oh
matters.
darn!
Yeah, and actively trading just short of 7,000 of my personal money. So there you go. So divide that by the 7,000 of our actual money. We're up 35% in 3 weeks of trading. 35%. So if somehow we can maintain this going forward, we will be up 420% for the year. So, anyways, Scruffy's just rolling his eyes. Remember, folks, this is probably all going to turn red. But for now, let's enjoy it. This is a moment where you just need to enjoy winning while it's happening and then grieve the losses that will happen when they happen tomorrow, right? There's Bible verses about worrying about tomorrow. Let tomorrow be tomorrow. But today is a good day, Scruffy. So I was just looking at my investments. I forgot to move money around, so I can't actually buy the stock you tell me to buy. But if you happen to have a stock to tell me to buy, you will protect $1,000 from joining this future screen of red. It's gonna look. I hope it looks like Christmas, but it's probably gonna just look like a Freddy Krueger movie someday when I pop this graphic up. So, anyways,
He knows how
Scruffy,
to manipulate me. He
Scruffy,
knows how to manipulate me.
before we wrap up today's episode, do you have a stock that I should buy once I have money in the right place to buy it? Oh wait, today's a
If
weekend. I can't even buy it, right? Today's a
yeah, you
weekend.
can't buy anything today.
Okay, whoopsies.
Yeah. But one of the ones I really liked, and if you've looked at your other account, this is something that my company has been really on. But there's a semiconductor company called Navitas that's been doing really, really well. Um, now it might not actually be the best time in the world to buy them because I think I'm up like 92% from when we first bought them in most of my clients' accounts. So,
Yeah,
but
I'm
they're
up
a good company.
40%
I
on
like
that
them.
one.
Oh, okay, nice.
So you want me to
Oh,
buy
I
that
already
one?
told you about that one.
You already
I
told
already
me.
told you to buy it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're up 42% on the one I told you to buy too.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I'm up 40%. That's great. Isn't that great? And you don't have to do anything. You just let it sit there. Well, if Scruffy doesn't say another one, I guess I'll just use it for day trading.
Oh gosh, I've not thought about this at all.
This
Uh,
is what looks. This
uh,
is what pressure looks like, folks. This is what high pressure sales looks
we
like.
see. Here's the deal. Here's the
I will
deal.
flush it down the drain day trading. Go ahead, Scruffy. Tell me what you're gonna say next.
Here's the deal. I actually have to give good advice, so I'm legally bound that if I'm going to give financial advice, it has to be suitable for you.
I'm not giving you advice. I'm just telling people my war stories.
I know. So fine. Take your day trading money and squander it. Good luck.
You don't have one? You don't have one for today?
No, I
Okay.
don't have one.
Okay, good. All right, well, that's another 1,000 in a bucket. All right, no worries. You'll see it. All right, thanks, guys. Today's a great episode.
Yeah, but this has been Dollars Lifestyle and Charity, a finance podcast for gamers. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.